Welcome, dear viewers, to the Djibouti channel. Here are the headlines for this in English edition. The Prime Minister made a tours in the interior regions. On continental news in Syria, agreement between the United Nations, Syria and Israel for the opening of the nuclear package. That were our the top stories for this English edition. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Margulis, sent a congratulatory message yesterday to the new Secretary General of the International Organization of Francophone, Mrs. Louise. Rwanda national was named Friday, opening after the 7th summit in Yerevan in Armenia. Secretary General to replace Canadian Michel Jane. In his message, the President of the Republic has described the appointment of Mrs. Mishikiwabo as the head of the OEF, a just retribution to her brilliant career. No doubt that the important experience occurred during your functions as former Foreign Minister of your country, of a multilingual executive, in particular in the United States, will be a precious contribution to you to fulfill your new mission, said President Gele in his message. The head of state expressed his wish to see the OEF increase its role to help all members countries of the organization sharing French and be more supportive. The Wire City Tadjoura had the privilege of welcoming Prime Minister Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed this morning, was conducting field consultations on the progress of the decentralization process. The Prime Minister made this trip with a large ministerial delegation, including the Minister of the Interior, as well as the Minister of the Budget and the Minister of Women and Family, and the Minister Delegate for decentralization. The delegation was welcomed on arrival in Tadjoura by the prefect of the region, the chairman of the region council, and the army corps chief of the Tadjoura region, the Sultan of Tadjoura, the national and local elected representatives, as well as the representatives of women and youth associations. Assuring crowd welcomed the Prime Minister and his delegation to the Tadjoura region, which at the same time demonstrated its legendary culture and hospitality. The Prime Minister and his delegation had a first consultation in the prefecture of Tadjoura with the elders of the region, of the exchange of views between the delegation led by the Prime Minister and the representative of the population, marked by their frankness on the issues of that concern them. The language of war and formal or procedures have been set aside. The Prime Minister recalled that his visit stems from the will of the President, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, who is absolutely committed to the outcome of decentralization to better bring administration closer to the government. In evaluation visit of this implementation of the process leading to efficient decentralization, the Sage of the region and his first place, the Sultan of Tadjoura, expressed their grievance and their immediate needs to the Prime Minister, who promised to provide the appropriate solution as soon as possible. The Prime Minister continued his visit with a meeting at the Regional Council of Tadjoura with local elected representatives and the head of decentralized services. The President of the Regional Council opened the proceeding by declaring that decentralization was becoming to take shape with a major breakthroughs in the transfer of resources. The Prime Minister reviewed the decentralized services, their human, material and financial capacity. The head of the various decentralized services exposed to the Prime Minister and his delegation the state of the play of their respective services. In conclusion, the Prime Minister, after having noted the situation of the concentrated services, promised the local commitment of the government to make the concentrated services operational in order to better bring the administration closer to those who will no longer need to go to Djibouti for administrative formalities or holding of responses to specified needs. He also emphasized the very essentials of decentralized services that are under the authority of the regional council and the prefecture, and the responsibility of the prefecture inform the hierarchy of the proper function of decentralization services. The Prime Minister and his delegation conclude their work with the lunch at the prefecture offered in their honor by the prefect and the president of the Regional Council of Tajura. The delegation will continue its consultations tomorrow in region of Obakh. The Minister of Energy in charge of natural resources, Mr. Younis Ali Gaidi, received this morning in his cabinet in the Egyptian ambassador posted in Djibouti, Mr. Ahmed Adil Subhi. Much of discussions between the two parties was held at the regional conference. Development of renewable energy in Djibouti and the region strengthening and importance, which will be organized from 21 to 23 October 2018 at the People's Palace by the Minister of Natural Resource Energy. The ambassador also said that a large Egyptian delegation will take part in this conference. Finally, the Minister of Energy mentioned the strengthening of partnership and the definition of a common vision to support the development of the energy sector in Djibouti and a possible working visit of the Minister of Energy in Egypt soon. The meeting was attended by the Secretary General of Department, Mr. Mohammed Kile Wais, and the technical advisor of the Minister of Energy, Mr. Abbas. The kindergarten Al-Ma'arif for the little ones with several levels has resumed its activity in Haramus, built with the support of Turkish Cooperation Agency TICA. This school offers courses in several languages including Turkish. This school provides basic education and quality to children aged 3 to 5 years. During the opening day of the school, the parents of students as well as the student will be delighted to entrust their told to the leader of structure, who takes great care to welcome them by mixing pedagogy adapted to the little ones of fun games. When the class was the first drawing of the children were framed by multicolored streamers. In his introductory remarks, the Turkish ambassador said that the opening of this school showed the very close ties that this country shares with the Republic of Djibouti. The popular district of Arhiba has celebrated its 5th anniversary since its construction in 1958. Arhiba, located in the center of the capital Djibouti city, vibrates with its youth and remains a base for people from northern areas or Dakhil who always find a close to Arhiba to open the doors of his house and inviting them to share his meal. The word solidarity has a meaning of Arhiba, whose term in Afar also means welcome. Arhiba's 5th anniversary was celebrated by a valiant youth who organized a musical and cultural event to mark the event. Songs and dances mixing traditions and modernity were played for the occasions. Among the great hostess of the ceremony by the musicians Aba Yazid, Ali Dahabli, or the rapper of Djibouti, Abdurrahman Hassan. The president of the Arhiba Youth Union, Mr. Ismail, thanked the youth of the district for having mobilized so massively to celebrate together the 5th anniversary of the public district of Arhiba. He also emphasized the creations of an environment management committee for this neighborhood. On regional news, one of the jihadists convicted in the truck bombing that killed more than 500 people a year ago in Mogadishu was executed on Sunday. The Somali authorities said hundreds of Somali participated in a remembrance ceremony to mark the 1st anniversary of the bombing that destroyed some 20 buildings in the center of Somali capital. accused to attacks by Al-Qaeda linked Shabab jihadists. On the same day, a military court announced that Hassan Aden Issa, who was sentenced to death for driving one of the vehicles used in the attack, was shot by a military platoon in the morning. On the continental news, the UN, Israel and Syria have reached an agreement to reopen the Kinitra crossing on Monday in the Golden High between the two countries.
Hate between the two countries, the United States has asked the Israelis and Syrians to facilitate the work of the United Nations peacekeeping missions in this area. The forthcoming reopening of the Kinitra crossing point to a willingness of the parts of Russia and United States to normalize the situation is on the front line between Syria and Israel. It is the American ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, who announced the reopening of this passage. On the ground, Russia has helped reduce tensions and prepare conditions for standardization, first by securing the withdrawal of Hezbollah and pro-Iranian forces from the area, and then setting up 8 observation posts for its military police. The United Nations interim forces had resumed patrol in this area last August after abandoning its positions in 2014 after the Syrian rebels abducted several dozen peacekeepers. The Kinitra crossing is the only point connecting the parts of the Golan occupied by Israel since 1967 to the rest of Syria. It was borrowed by Druze living in the part occupied by Israel to study in Damascus and to sell their apple production with the help of the Syrian government. On 6 October, hundreds of the residents of Majd al-Shams under Israeli control demonstrated near the separation lane, waving Syria flags and portraits of the Bashar al-Assad, demanding the reopening of the cross.
Here we arrive at the end of this news. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.